Germans as footballing underdogs? That doesn't sound right. Are they not usually the favourites? Nowadays, we have become well accustomed to Germany's relentless pursuit of international trophies. Very seldom do we not mention Germany amongst tournament favourites, see them reach the semi-finals or final of a tournament, or of course go on to win it, like the 2014 World Cup, their 4th World Cup of all time, a record only bettered by Brazil. Yet there was an age when the Germans were underdogs, and that story has become one of the FIFA World Cup underdog stories of all time for various reasons. The Miracle of Bern, as it has been remembered, is the story of the 1954 World Cup final, when West Germany won their first ever World Cup, defeating a heavily favoured Hungary side in Switzerland. The 1954 World Cup was only the 5th ever to take place. The first 4 World Cups had been won by Uruguay and Italy, with 2 championships each. Both of those nations won their first title as the hosts. West Germany would be the 3rd different champion in 1954. They were the first side to win their first World Cup not as hosts, winning in Switzerland. The format at the 1954 World Cup would make heads spin in the 21st century. Despite having a typical group of 4 system, instead of playing against all 3 of the other teams in the group, nations would play just 2 group matches. The 2 seeded teams would play against the 2 unseeded teams, and vice versa, but not against each other. A weird way of doing things for sure. If this had been the case in 2022, we might have seen Argentina going home early after losing to Saudi Arabia. And never mind that, group games that ended in a draw after 90 minutes would go to extra time. In 2022, this would have meant another 300 minutes of group stage football, along with the twists and turns it would bring. But anyway, 1954 was a long time ago. 16 teams qualified, 3 of which are no longer sovereign states: West Germany, Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia. West Germany hadn't long received their full FIFA status since World War II, and therefore were unseeded. They were in a group with South Korea, also unseeded, as well as Hungary and Turkey. South Korea lost their games 7-0 and 9-0. Maybe they were very bad, or maybe the seeded teams were very good, but it suggests these certainly were tricky opponents for the Germans. Nevertheless, despite going 1-0 down to Turkey in their first game, West Germany would run out 4-1 winners. However, despite making changes before their next game with Hungary, they were smashed 8-3. A certain Ferenc Puskas was on the scoresheet for Hungary that day. Both teams would of course go on to meet in the final, but at this point the idea of that rematch seemed a million miles away. Hungary had led 7-1 at one point in the group game, a side who now perhaps don't carry a great footballing reputation, not in the modern era, but this Hungary side were on a record-breaking unbeaten run in the 50s, known as the Golden Team and led by Real Madrid legend Puskas. They were hot favourites in 1954. Hungary had been ranked number 1 in the world in fact, and their historic run included some historic victories. In 1953 they beat England 6-3 in a game that was dubbed the match of the century. And before meeting West Germany in the 1954 final, they would have to overcome Brazil in the quarters and Uruguay in the semis, respectively the runners-up and champions of the previous World Cup in 1950. Hungary beat Brazil 4-2 in the last 8. The game was known as the Battle of Bern. It was overshadowed by some foul play and violence between players that continued long down the tunnel. They also saw off the holders Uruguay 4-2, but needed 2 extra time goals to do so. Legendary Puskas had actually been injured in the group game with West Germany, but he would return for the final, albeit not 100%. In any case, Hungary were big favourites. They were literally invincible up to that point, and they were overcoming all the toughest challenges that they faced. West Germany weren't considered quite as tough an opponent. The West Germans had to play Turkey once again in a playoff to advance from the group phase. They won convincingly 7-2. Had goal difference been in place, they would have been going home though. Thankfully, the bizarre format gave them a second bite at the knockout rounds, and they did their job against Turkey. There, in the last 8, Yugoslavia were waiting. They had drawn with Brazil and defeated France in their group. West Germany won the quarterfinal 2-0 to set up a semi-final with Austria. 60,000 spectators would be present in Basel as the Germans fired 6 past the Austrians, a record result in what was also a record World Cup for average goals per game. This result meant West Germany would meet Hungary again in the final, in the game that would be remembered as the Miracle of Bern. To put things into context, Hungary had beaten West Germany by 5 goals in the group stage. They had just knocked out the World Cup holders and Brazil, who had been runners-up. In 1952, they won gold at the Olympic Games, and it is said that this Hungary team played their own type of total football, even though the incredible attacking style of play is more associated with the Dutch team of the 70s. Between 1949 and the final in Bern, Hungary had played 41 games, losing just 1, winning 34 and drawing 6. They reached the final on an unbeaten run of 32 games. The Golden Team certainly earned their nickname, and nobody gave West Germany a chance on the day of the final. Despite not having fully recovered from his ankle injury, Ferenc Puskas opened the scoring on 6 minutes. And 2 minutes later, Hungary were 2-0 up. That was it. Surely they would go on to score another 6, 7, 8 goals. This Hungary side were a goal-scoring machine. Yet in a stunning turn of events, after 18 minutes the Germans were back. It was 2-2, all level, a classic World Cup final. After the German equaliser, Hungary began to regain control of the match and had plenty of the ball with brilliant chances to go ahead. They didn't take any of them, and in the 84th minute, Helmut Rahn, the prolific German forward, scored a historic winner that left Hungary and the spectators of the world utterly shocked. Drama continued as 2 minutes later, Puskas had the ball in the back of the net. He thought he had equalised, but no, it was ruled out for offside. German goalkeeper Toni Turek had another save to make in the final seconds, but eventually the whistle blew and West Germany had won the World Cup in miraculous fashion with a smash and grab win over the unbeaten best team in the world at the time. There have been plenty of allegations since this historic final of both dodgy refereeing and doping amongst the German squad, but we will never know the truth, and we won't let it upset this fairy tale ending either. What a story. West Germany lifted the Jules Rimet trophy, and Hungary's Golden Team would end their reign of dominance without a World Cup trophy to show for it. The title The Miracle of Bern was romantically turned into what has become one of Germany's best-selling films of all time. You see, after World War II, this World Cup win took on even more significance for a country that was trying to move forward from the dark past of the Nazi regime. The win transcended sport and was important for Germany internationally. The 2003 film revolves around the World Cup win in '54 and a German family trying to pick up the pieces of their life in post-war Germany. The father of the family returns from years away as a Soviet prisoner of war. He tries to adapt to a new Germany and his son's love for football. In the end, the father and son watch the final together, and the victory brings a lot of joy and hope to the country. As well as being a miracle on the pitch, this West Germany World Cup win clearly had a big impact off it. Hungary seemed unbeatable, but the Germans defied the odds. The first of what is now 4 historic titles. And with that, we tie up our series on World Cup underdogs. We have certainly enjoyed the stunning tales of yesteryear, from Senegal to South Korea and Bolivia to Bulgaria. The World Cup is always special because of the miracles that it throws up. Which has been your favourite to learn about? And who would you crown the greatest underdogs in World Cup history? Let us know in the comments below.